Hi, everyone. Happy Friday and welcome to today's live. We are going to be talking all about the fiancé visa process. If you watched my video last week, I talked about what you need to consider before you get engaged to someone that is not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and you want to bring them to the US. So today I will be going over what that looks like, right? What does the fiance visa process look like? What do you need to know? What do you need to do? And we're just going to cover all of it. If you have any questions, as always, put them in the comments. Okay. If this is your first time joining me, hi. Welcome. I am Lillian Chukura. I am an immigration lawyer at Lily Legal. We help our clients get green card citizenships for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. If this sounds interesting to you, if you want to learn more about U.S. immigration, visas, green card citizenship, then this is the channel for you. Go ahead and subscribe, like this video, share this video. And if you want to have a private consultation with me where we go over what you qualify for or what a family member qualifies for, feel free to reach out. My information is in the description of this video, but you can also schedule a consultation by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or calling my office at 508-443-1788. All right. Let's jump right in. So before you even start filing, okay, before you even start filing a fiance visa application, first thing you need to know. Hi there, Campbell from Jamaica. Welcome. If you are joining me, please feel free to tell me where you're joining me from. And as I'm going through this, please do ask me questions, okay? This video is for you. This live is for you. So ask me your questions, all right? So first thing first, before you even start filing anything, you need to know, do you even qualify for a fiance visa? So these are the things you need. One, your fiance, you have to be a US citizen, right? The person filing the fiance visa must be a US citizen. If you're a permanent resident, you can either get married and file through a marriage-based case, or you wait till you're a citizen and then file the fiance. All right. You have to be engaged, right? Secondly, your fiance, the person that is not a U.S. citizen or a U.S. citizen, has to be outside of the U.S. or be willing to go outside of the U.S. for their interview, because the interview does not take place in the U.S. for a fiance visa. All right. Each You have to have seen each other within the past 2 years. So if the last time you saw your fiance in person was, what are we now? We're in 2023. So 2019, if 2019 was the last time you saw your fiance in person, you don't qualify for the fiance visa. You have to go see your fiance again before you can start the process. All right. And like I said, there are considerations you have to think about whether you want to go with the fiance or the marriage base. But today we're just talking about the fiance. So if you haven't seen each other within the past 2 years, you fix this by traveling to see each other. That's the only fix. Okay. Unless you meet some exception, like tiny exception. If it's against your culture to see each other, and you that has to be documented and well known. So just know that. And then you have to be free to marry. What does that mean? That means you are not married to someone else. Okay. Your divorce, if you're getting a divorce, your divorce must be final before you start this process. Okay. So if you're still technically married to someone, you cannot start the fiance visa process until that marriage is over, ended legally. All right. Being separated and, oh, we're going to start the divorce process, or we're in the middle of the divorce process, is not enough. Okay. You must be free to marry. And then you must intend to marry, meaning when your fiance gets here, your intention is to marry them. If your intention is not to marry them, the fiance visa process is not for you. All right. If you just want them to come for a visit, this is not the process for you. Okay. This is the process for people that are US citizens. Their fiancés are outside of the US. They have seen each other within the past 2 years. They are free to marry and they intend to marry. That's who the fiancé visa process is intended for. Okay. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about what the process actually looks like. Right. The first step is starting the K1 process. So the I-129F is the first process, right? So people usually start freaking out at the beginning about affidavit of supports and all this other stuff. No, the first step is for USCIS to say, yes, this is your fiance. Yes, you two have a relationship. Yes, you can move on to the next stage of a visa interview. Okay, that's the first step. And you get to that step by filing the I-129F and presenting proof of your relationship and proof that you two are free to marry and intend to marry. All right. And of course, proof that you're a US citizen. That's a given. Now, after you have done that and it's approved, you move on to the next stage, which is where you can schedule your visa interview. Each embassy handles this differently, okay? So if your friend in Ghana has a different process than your friend in the Philippines, no, it's because of the embassy, okay? Because right now that's the situation. So if you're in the Philippines, you're going to have an easier time getting an interview than if you are in Ghana or Nigeria for that matter. So just know each embassy handles the visa interview process differently. Some embassies will give you a login to the US travel docs where you can just go and log in every day and see if there's any visa appointments available. Whereas some embassies will actually figure out what their availability is and send you an interview notice. So, depending on how your embassy handles things, you may be getting an interview notice, or you have to go and log in and just see what they have available. Okay. So that's the important piece there. So someone, don't rely on someone from a different country's process to be your process. Okay, if they're from a different country, their process may be completely different when it comes to the embassy stage. When it comes to the USCIS I-129F, it's the same process, right? They're requiring the same documents, but at the embassy stage, getting the interview is going to be different for everyone. Okay, so that's the first thing. When you get to that interview stage, what do you need? Before you can even schedule the interview, most embassies are going to want you to do a DS 160. So your fiance that's outside of the US will be doing a DS 160, basically confirming who they are, putting in their biographical information so that, of course, the US government can do a full background check on them. And for the interview, you need the I-134, which is basically an affidavit of support, right? This is documentation showing that you have enough income to support your fiance and that you are willing to support your fiance, right? So not only are you saying, yes, I have enough income, but you're also saying, and I'm willing to support them. And you show your income by having your tax returns, your pay stubs, to show that you are making this money. It's not just you saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to make $1 million next year. It's completely fine. Just believe me. No, they need to see statements showing that you are actually making that money. All right. So That's something that that came up recently that I just wanted to flag for everyone. They really want to see that you're making the money. Again, you don't have to make millions of dollars. If it's just you and your fiance, making 25,000 a year is enough. Okay, so don't think that in order to file this, you need, you know, a huge income. No, no, you just have to make above the minimum wage, minimum poverty level, and that would be enough. All right. So, and when you're checking on the minimum level, make sure you're including everyone in your household, right? Because your household size is what determines how much income you need to make, right? If you are, if it's just you and your fiance, that's the lowest level, right? Once you start adding children, once you start adding other people that you have sponsored, that's going to require more income to show that not only can you support yourself, your fiance, but you can also support your children and anyone else that you sponsored in the past that is not yet a US citizen. All right. So it is really important that you pay attention to this process, and present the right documentation, because that's where everything can fall apart. Basically, at the interview, that's where everything can fall apart. And I stress the interview with every single person. So I'm going to stress it with you as well, because the interview process is very very strict. Okay, U.S. Embassy does not play. They want to see that your fiance has done the DS 160, right? That they have their medical. All right, this is the stage where your fiance is doing their medical. This is the stage that's going to cost you money, because not only are you paying for the visa fee, you are also paying for a medical. And depending on how old your fiance, well, your fiance is also going to need a police report saying that, hey, I have no criminal charges against me. I have never been in trouble with the police. Like, they need that as well. So that, like I tell people, that's where you're going to spend the most money, is at the embassy stage. Once they complete the interview, right, the officers are going to decide whether to approve it, if they need more documentation, or whether to deny it. Those are the three those are the three things that can happen. The officer either approves it, or they need more documentation, or they deny it. If they approve it, your fiance would give the officer their passport. The officer would then go through the process of putting a visa in it, giving it back to your fiance at a later date. They can pick it up. And once they pick it up, they can travel to the US. Okay. And once they come into the US, you have 90 days to get married. All right. So that's where the whole 90-day fiance thing came from. It doesn't mean that you met the person 90 days ago, they come into the US, you have 90 days to decide if this person is for you. No, you have 90 days to get married. You already decided that this person is for you if you're filing the fiance visa, right? You're already saying, I intend to marry this person when you file that. So when they come into the US, you have 90 days to get married in order for them to apply for a green card based on the fiance visa. That's where people kind of get mixed up. So the 90 days is for you to get married so that they can apply for a green card through the fiance visa process. If you get married on day 93, well, then they're still married to a US citizen, so you can go through the I-130 green card route, right? The marriage-based green card route. But if you want to make it easier on yourself, just get married within the 90 days, and then you can start the green card process. The green card process, of course, is the I-485. You file the I-485 with an affidavit of support. Again, you still need an affidavit of support. So at the visa stage, you need an affidavit of support. At the green card stage, you need an affidavit of support. All right. So you send all of that in and you wait for your interview. Or in some situations, if you have enough documentation of your relationship that you sent in on the front end, the officers may waive your interview. So if your fiance doesn't have any criminal history, there's no prior immigration court cases, then the officers have a higher likelihood of approving it if you put enough documentation of your relationship in the application. Okay, so if you put enough, they may waive your interview. So you really want to make sure that you are including as much documentation as possible. Now, people are going to ask, what type of documentation do I use to prove my relationship? Simple, right? Remember, your fiance is outside of the US, so you're not going to have a lease together. You're not going to have a bank statements together. And because you're not married, you're definitely not going to have tax returns together, right? But what you do have, what all of you that are in this process, like if your fiance is outside of the US, what you do have is your communication, right? You have your WhatsApp messages, you have your Facebook messages, you have your text messages, your phone calls, all of that communication, right? If you talk like 20 times a day, right? You're just texting each other every minute of every single day. That's proof of your relationship, right? If part of your conversations from like a year ago is you two talking about marriage, and then now you two are engaged, and just your whole conversation over the years shows the buildup of your relationship, that is that that's that is proof of your relationship. So do not get fall into the trap of thinking that you need, the bank statements and all this stuff. Like, your fiance is not in the US. That is not something that is the USCIS or the embassy officer is going to expect. If you have it, that's great. Include it. But it's not expected. All right. So do not fall into that trap of thinking, oh, but I don't have any of the things that people say to include. All I have is just text messages. Text messages work. I will tell you that I had a prior client that literally they went to the interview. The office is like, I don't really believe this. Like, there's not enough here for me to approve your application. And he comes to me and he's like, well, I don't know what else to include. I'm like, what did you include in the first place? He's like, oh, we included pictures and that was it. I'm like, okay, do you talk to each other? He says, yes, we have, you know, all this WhatsApp communication. Do you know what I did? I had him download the WhatsApp messages, right? Because you can download your WhatsApp history. You can. And then when you download it, you can print the whole thing and send it to USCIS. That's what I did, right? When this couple are in a legitimate relationship and you're questioning their relationship, well, I'm going to send you hundreds. It was hundreds of pages of WhatsApp communication. And guess what happened after that was sent in? It was approved. Yeah, it was approved because your communication with each other, when an officer looks at it, that's really what you have when you're not in the same country. When you're not able to just go down the street and see each other, what you have is your communication. Everything that's going on, you're probably texting each other back and forth. So that's how you prove your relationship. All right. So let me just go through everything again. Before you start the fiancé process, you need a U.S. citizen's fiancé, right? And you've seen each other within the past 2 years. You are free to get married and you intend to get married, you can support your fiance. You have enough income to support your fiance, or you have someone else that has enough income that's willing to support your fiance. All right. So once you have that ready to go, you can start the first process, which is the I-129F, where you can include documentation of your relationship and proof of everything that qualifies you to apply for the fiancé visa. Once that is approved, you move on to the next stage where you do the DS 160, the medical, and the police clearance certificate. And then you are able to schedule your interview. Once your interview is done and your case is approved, your fiance can travel into the US. Once they are here in the US, you have 90 days to get married. Once you get married within that 90 days, the next step is to apply for the green card, which is the I-485 with the support, with the affidavit of support, to show again that you are able to now support your spouse. Okay. And then once that is filed, USCIS will process the application and decide whether to waive the interview or have you come in for an interview. Once they waive the interview, your spouse will get their green card. If they choose to schedule the interview, you'll go to the interview, they'll ask questions, right, about your relationship, and then they can approve the green card. Your spouse gets the green card typically within a month, and you're done with that first step, right? You are officially done with the fiance visa process. All right. I know that was a lot, but I tried to condense it. It's a lot. I can talk about each step for a while, but I just want to condense it so that you have a complete guide on what to expect, what each stage requires of you and your fiance. All right. So I see a question here. Please, can you, let's see if I can pull it up here. Perfect. Can you tell, please, how long Jamaica takes for giving an interview for F11? Thank you. Okay. So the embassies do not give a time frame for when they're scheduling interviews. If there is a visa available for your visa category, that's the main thing, right? So depending on your visa category, that is what's going to determine if you're going to get an interview soon or if it's going to be um, a while. All right. So figure out if there's a visa available, and you can do that by going to the visa bulletin, right? So that's the main thing. So F11, for those that do not know, ooh, sorry, sorry, y'all. 1 second, mommy duty calls. Um, for those that do not know, F11 is the child. Sorry. I am so sorry, y'all. Trying to multitask here, which, as anyone will tell you, is not the easiest when they are wiggly. All right. So, like I was saying before, I was not rudely interrupted, but just interrupted. The first step that you need to do is figure out if there's a visa immediately available based on when the visa was filed, right? Based on when the I-130 is filed. So F11, right? That's what Mr. Campbell was asking about. So F11, when will they get the interview? Well, it depends on when the I-130 was filed. F11, for those that do not know, is unmarried sons and daughters of a U.S. citizen. Okay, so if we go on the visa bulletin for February of 2023, we can see what what process they're looking at right now. So unmarried children of U.S. citizens it's the F1 when you go on the visa bulletin, okay? So even though it's F11 as you're doing that, but when you go on the visa bulletin, you're looking at the F1, okay? So the F1, wow, she plays with my lights. The F1 right now are processing cases from 2014, right? So the final action date is 2014, but if but oh Lord. So the final action date is 2014. However, if your priority date, right, if your priority date, which is typically when the I-130 was filed, is on or before August 2019, 2016, right? For the F11, if your I-130 priority date was on or before August 8, 2016, you can start the second step. So the step with the MVC to do the visa application, the DS-260. If you have already done that and submitted it, the ones they are actually scheduling for interviews, right, are from 2014. All right. So you may have some time to wait. So if you are still on the I-130, or your I-130 was approved, but it was from 2020 that it was approved, you still have a few years of waiting. All right. So I can't give you an exact, timeline. I can only tell you what the visa bulletin says. And then once you complete the DS-260 and all the supporting documents, then it becomes how long is the embassy, what applications are the embassies actually scheduling for interviews. And unfortunately, they are scheduling based on priorities. And immediate relatives of U.S. citizens are getting priority over children over 21 of U.S. citizens. So that's going to affect your interview time frame as well. So just know that's how the interview process is determined, and who gets an interview is determined. I hope that answers your question. I know it's not the exact answer you're looking for, but that should help you figure out how much longer you have to wait. All right. So if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you're watching this on the replay, as always, put your questions in the comments, and I am happy to go back and respond to all of them. If you found this video helpful, please do like this video. If you may also subscribe to my channel. Actually, please subscribe to my channel so that you do not miss any of my uploads and the cute baby nest. And if you would like to speak with me privately to see what you qualify for or what a family member qualifies for, and start your green card or citizenship process, please feel free to reach out. You can schedule a consultation by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or by calling my office at 508-443-1788. As always, thank you all so much for joining me. I am Lillian Chukura. I am a U.S. immigration lawyer at Lily Legal. Thank you.